Hi, I'm Candace Terry, and I have chosen to record on Holland's theory, most specifically the Holland Code. Now, this was introduced in 1959. However, if you went to high school in the United States, you have taken the Holland Code test, whether you realize it or not. And it got me thinking about when I was in high school and I took this test, and it was in some random class, couldn't even tell you what it was. Of course, I was sitting next to my friends. We all took our tests together because it was, again, a random class that had nothing to do with career development. It was just something that teacher was told, hey, you have to give your students this. There was no elaboration, and it was kind of a free hour. So there was no real follow up. This is what this means, any of that. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of take a look at it at a little deeper level. I have right here that you can see it's the 6 different personality types, and there's a reason that I put the picture on there for you. But the theory states that individuals are attracted to a given career based on personality and personal life experiences. This is something I truly believe to be true. If you experienced certain things in your younger years that may drive you into certain passions and career choices as an older adult. Also, as far as personality is concerned, if you are a major introvert, you may not make the best salesman because if you approach somebody and say, hey, isn't this great? Don't you want to buy it? They say no, and you're like, okay. So that's kind of my explanation on how I think that those are pretty accurate. Career choice is an extension of personality and identification with occupational stereotypes. So, throughout my research, Holland's theory talks about occupational stereotypes, which really, of course, are opinions of certain occupations. And so, this is something that was really interesting to me when I was thinking back to my example from when I was in high school and these occupational stereotypes. Because my friends and I were taking this together, there are certain occupational stereotypes out there. We all knew that we wanted to go to college and do all of these amazing, wonderful things. And we didn't want to necessarily identify with a personality trait that we didn't perceive to go, or that we didn't perceive to match that direction that we were wanting to go at that time in our lives. It does categorize individuals into 6 different types, and I have all the different types listed out here right for you to look at as we go through this. But these are based on 5 key concepts. So when you take the quiz, then of course, it tells you, hey, you're more of an introvert, an extrovert, all these other things. You're more artsy, you're more creative. However, as far as consistency is concerned, some people will identify solely with creativity. However, some people will be a little bit, on the borders of these different triangles that you can see within the hexagon. Differentiation, of course, this is how we all differ. Identity, so it's a clear picture of how we identify. Congruence, so basically matches our environment. And calculus, so this is the knowledge of the occupational environment, which I can tell you when I was in high school taking this, I had no idea what any occupational environment was. So, looking at this now, it kind of made me laugh a little bit. But as we move on, these tests are given to thousands of high school and college students every year. And if you want to give it a try, I did find a really good free one at Rogue Community College. I have the link here. Of course, since this is going to be posted to YouTube, you won't be able to click on that link. But if you just go to Rogue Community College and type in Holland, it will allow you to take the test. So as you're taking the test, these are the different vocational types. I kind of took a couple different resources and took kind of what I saw as some of the most common things. So realistic, these are our doers. So they like to work with animals, tools, machines, strong mechanical skills, value practical things. Certain careers like police officers, property managers, athletic trainers, investigative thinkers. So these might be your scholarly types. They see themselves as precise, intellectual, and scientific, usually have strong science and math skills, definitely value science. They like to observe, learn, and evaluate, and careers that are good for investigative individuals are actuaries, chemical engineers, and or surgeons, among many others. Vocational types continued. Artistic, these are our creators, so our musicians, artists. These are imaginative, impulsive, and sensitive people, clearly have strong artistic abilities. They see themselves as independent, original, and expressive. Our social types, these are helpers, so our teachers, social workers, nurses, anybody who likes to help people typically have strong teaching abilities. What I always say, working in higher ed, is just because you know a subject does not necessarily mean that you know how to teach a subject. So these people are genuinely very, very good at it. They see themselves as helpful, approachable, and kind. Our enterprising types, these are the persuaders. Definite extroverts, adventurous, persuasive. They like to lead, sell, and persuade people. They see themselves as ambitious, social, and self confident. They make great entrepreneurs, attorneys, and politicians. Our conventional type, these are the organizers. So they are the rule followers, as I like to classify them. They're orderly, numerically inclined, and very structured with strong mathematical skills. They value success, personal and business. So when they see personal successes, as in I bought my first home, that's a personal success, and business success as well. They see themselves as accurate, dependable, and methodical. And these are accountants, insurance underwriters, and budget analysts. So, some disadvantages to the theory that I found throughout my research. So, it does not provide guidance for those administering these tests to work with the students. I gave you my own personal example about how this test was really just kind of given to us, with no backing to it. So, in other words, there's more to it. You can't just give this. It can be a fun and interactive thing, but I do believe in order to be effective that you really need to follow it up. Um, Career counseling is an art with much greater depth than simply administering a personality test. And that's kind of, where this theory leaves off. This is probably the biggest disadvantage. I think it's a good tool, right, for counseling, but if you don't add the counseling part or the art part of the career counseling, then I think you really lose the entire point of the theory. Perceptions or stereotypes may not allow students to answer accurately. I really think this is something that if you're working with a career counselor, maybe it's a little different in high schools now. I clearly haven't been in like 20 years, so hopefully it's changed for the better. But at least when I was going, it didn't really allow us, or the way that it was administered didn't allow us to take it seriously or to answer accurately. And then it does not necessarily take skill set into account. So I might enjoy animals, dogs particularly. Those of you who work here already know this about me. I'm a huge dog lover. However, I might lack the skill set to become a veterinarian. So, you know, I might need to look at turning my passion for dogs into another type of career than veterinarian. That's kind of where I think that career counseling the art part of it is lacking in this theory. Some practical applications, however, I do think that it's a great tool that you can use to engage with students. While we might not have taken it seriously, we did have a good time taking it when I was in high school, and I do think that it can engage people, can kind of be a good icebreaker. Students can gain some insight into their personal interests and how they might apply those to a career. So, the example that I gave about loving dogs, but maybe I didn't have the right mindset or the right skill set to become a veterinarian because of the science part of it. Having somebody say, "Hey, well, there's all these other great things that you can do with dogs." You know, so I think that that's good as long as you use it as a tool, not an end all be all. It is easily administered to students. As I told you, my teacher probably could have gone out and taken a lunch break, and we would have been just fine taking it. It does consider the students' interest. It does ask a lot of different questions, like, do you enjoy working with machines? Do you enjoy doing outdoors things? Things like that. And it is interactive when used correctly. So, my personal assessment, if you couldn't already tell, I think that this is a useful tool if it is used appropriately. If the administrator or the proctor, um, gives some background into, hey, this is why this is important. This is why you need to answer it accurately, and this is how we can expand on it. Then I think it can be a great tool. Again, I think it's a good interactive tool. Some students and people in general aren't open about, talking about themselves, their interests, things like that. So it's kind of a good icebreaker. And it can generate a great deal of discussion, I believe. It does not take socioeconomic background into account. So I might have all the skill sets and all of the interests to become a veterinarian, but I don't come from a wealthy background and I'm an average student. So my socioeconomic background might not allow for me to be able to pursue some of those career paths. Now that's a really extreme example, but it also, it doesn't necessarily take into account, somebody's ability um, to perform certain jobs. Like I might have the skill set and the grades, but when it comes down to it, I might not have the mental capacity to be able to handle some of the things that go with that career choice. So, those are some things that I think are definitely lacking from the assessment. Career counseling is an art and a science that is much deeper than what is outlined in Helen's theory. This is no slam to Holland. However, I think Helen's theory is a good stepping stone in the right direction if you're going to be administering any type of career counseling, things like that. I really believe that career counseling is just like any other type of counseling. It's one on one. Sometimes you have to go to some deep, dark places and make some self realizations about yourself that might not be so pleasant. However, that is what's going to allow you to get to the next level and improve and be better. I do have all of my references listed here for you. And if you have any questions, just please let me know. Thank you for your time.